Hi, everyone. Before we get started with Chapter 1, I want to start with a conversation about randomness. So, quick, before you do anything else, think of a number between 1 and 4. And then I'm going to come back to that in a second. So, let's talk about what is random. So, I've read that our brains actually have a really hard time identifying random events. It's something with the idea that we like to be able to have things be predictable so that we can feel safe. And so, like, our primitive brains just do not like this idea of randomness. So, we've misconstrued the idea a little bit in just kind of everyday language. So, random events are actually very ordinary and they occur quite often. And we usually just never notice them. Again, mostly because our brain doesn't really want to. But then every once in a while, there'll be a random event that's extraordinary. And that's the one that we notice. So we have then kind of misconstrued the word random to mean that something was unexpected or extraordinary, when that's not actually the case. So you might hear somebody say something like, wow, that was so random, when really what they mean was that, wow, that was really unexpected, or wow, that was really extraordinary. But that doesn't actually mean that the event was random. The other times that I've heard people misuse the word random is when they're talking about doing something without a lot of thought. So, they're like looking at a menu and they're in a big hurry, so they just say something like, oh, I just picked one of these sandwiches randomly. But you actually can't act randomly. You yourself, you always have thought and you have bias. And those play a part in how you make those decisions, even if those decisions are really quick and feel like you're not actually thinking. So back to this idea of picking a number, most people will pick numbers 2 or 3. And in fact, it's something like 75% of people will pick the number 3 if you ask them to pick a number between 1 and 4. So how do we talk about, like, what is random and how do we generate something that is random? So in this chapter, we're going to talk about randomness in relation to sampling a population. And I'll talk about what sampling is and a population and all that in the next video. But the way that we can produce something randomly is to use something that does not have any bias but can make a decision. I know it sounds really weird, but think about drawing a name out of a hat. That would be something that would allow for randomness, or rolling a die. And then we have websites and computers that can produce random numbers. So when we talk about sampling a population using a random method, it's going to use some kind of mechanism to choose people randomly, whether it's assigning them a number and using a computer program to randomly choose those numbers, or picking things out of a hat, or assigning numbers and rolling a die, but it's going to use some kind of act that will produce randomness.